Whose house? Rad's house.
Last time on Password, 7 presumably gay men, a hyena, a boar, a crocodile, a bear, a lion, a dragon, and a wolf, won a month-long vacation in a mysterious mansion with only one butler on the premises. Jinkies, gang! It looks like Luigi won another mansion! Somebody quickly warn Mario! I think I'm giving mixed metaphors here.
Now continuing, day 2 of Password. Our titular character, Dave the Hyena, woke up without knowing what time it was. The adjoining bathroom, a familiar comfort, provided relief from the muscle pain he got from the strange new bed, and it helped Dave to not stink. He was thankful he had no one sleeping in his bed with him. In the event he does end up sleeping with one of his high school buddies, however, maybe it's in Dave's best interest to start showering regularly. The many hours spent sleeping on the bus and wandering around a strange old house with only one cleaning staff had left Dave smelling as good as a field of flowers with a rotting horse corpse. Due to Dave's sudden fussing, he was the last one to breakfast. The whole table resembled a buffet. Roswell the boar lit up once Dave sat down for breakfast, but something was clearly amiss. Roswell held an empty notebook, pen in hand, frozen to the paper, perhaps hesitant to catalog the rougher moments of their mansion vacation. Then Dave noticed what was holding up Roswell. Whatever had happened, Tyson the wolf had found himself sectioned off from the rest of the group by Sal the crocodile, who was acting as a big green wall. The other men had isolated themselves at the other end of the table, but they all managed to steal the occasional glance at Tyson. Tyson could barely eat as a result.
Dave spoke with Roswell about the situation. Things were still tender from last night, and if this infighting were to become the norm for the month-long stay, it'd get old really fast. Roswell figures the mansion is so big that everyone can just avoid each other if need be. Dave listens to Roswell as the boar lists off the many different places beyond the trees at the mansion. An old cabin, north of the mansion, catches Dave's ear. How do you even know about something like that anyway?
Roswell seemed taken aback, looking thoughtful, if confused for a moment before replying.
I think it was my parents. It might have been Benson, I don't know.
Huh. Tyson got up suddenly, seemingly done with his meal, and left. All eyes were on him as he did, but he didn't seem to care. As for Sal, he moved up to the rest of the group, but remained as stoic as ever.
How's that activity shaping up, Roswell? Any chance to talk to Benson about it yet?
Not yet. I have to hope to get something sorted out soon, though.
The boys expressed interest in exploring the grounds, or enjoying its various amenities. As such, that left Dave alone with Roswell, whose pen was still frozen to his empty notebook.
Need a hand?
Oh, it's alright. You just get some coffee in you before you go feral.
I'm not that bad without coffee.
Nah, you're pretty bad.
Okay, fine. I get it.
Dave, perhaps curious about the meek and mysterious Sal, decided to go check out the pool. The pungent smell of chlorine wafting outside led Dave towards a large fenced-off area. Dave meandered around the pool's perimeter until he located the gate, causing Sal to grow mildly impatient.
Took you long enough. Hey, the gate was hard to find. There are a few gates, actually. I watched as Sal then proceeded to point out each of the gates in turn. Felt stupid for not seeing them sooner, but it was easy to see them now that I knew what they looked like. Oh, yeah, neat. They're not that hard to spot, if you know what you're looking for. I guess it's just one of those things that I haven't had much exposure to, you know, not having a pool at home and all. Do you not know how to swim? I know how to swim. I've been to the beach, and parents have taken me lessons when I was a kid. The corners of Sal's mouth went up in a jeering smile. Lessons? Cute.
Dave became lost in thought as Sal returned to swimming laps. Maybe I should have just brought my own swim trunks. Being left to his own devices on the side of the pool, Dave began to wander. He found lockers, all but 2 of which were open. Aside from that, he spotted a locker of standard pool wear, which is located behind a wire fence.
I was back in front of the lockers, checking things out before I realized Sal was standing behind me. Almost effortlessly, he picked me up by the waist and shifted me aside to get to the locker I had been standing in front of. Pulling a key out of his Speedo, he opened up one of the lockers. Oh wow, he is wearing a Speedo, I didn't even see that. Do you have your own locker already? I needed a place to store my towel. Oh, right, that makes sense. You can't pick different ones. Keys are just sticking out, if you ever decide to join me. Despite retrieving a towel, he didn't retrieve his clothes, instead looking out somewhere and leaving his locker open. I looked inside, back to Sal, then to the locker again. Showers are this way. Okay, neat. Did you see they have flippers? Flippers, Sal. You don't need flippers if you can swim. But flippers are fun. They make you go real fast. Sal shook his head, sighing. He closed the door to his locker and led the way over to what appeared to be a stall using a wooden privacy screen, similar to what you'd see at the beach. Can you hold my towel? Sure. Okay. Sal disappeared behind the screen and threw his towel over to the top of the booth. I caught it, admitting how plush it was to the touch, wondering if this was the same towel from one of the other bathrooms that were stored inside. I heard the water start to run, and I called over to Sal.
How was the water today? Good?
Yes. His voice came out clear enough, so I guess he could hear me just fine enough.
And you were doing laps?
There was a grunt of affirmation before I hear the water turn off. I grimaced, wondering if it was just a poor conversationalist. That said, Sal had always been this way as far as interactions go. I realized that despite hearing the water turn off, Sal hadn't said anything. In some way that it had been thrown over the first time, I returned it the same way, the sound of it being snatched out of the air, preceded by the sound of hurried drying. Thank you. Sal stepped out. He didn't usually smile, but he stepped past, patting me on the shoulder as we headed back to the deck chairs. Yay! I think I like Sal the most. Good weather for relaxing. Oh yeah, I don't think they were forecasting any rain today at least. Even if it rained, it'll be fine. I like the rain. I remember the day we met well. It'd been raining and I'd noticed that Sal had been standing outside it for a solid hour. At first I thought he'd just forgotten his umbrella while he was waiting for the bus home. Nope, he just really enjoyed the rain. So I think I'm gonna check out other parts of the house now. Well, okay then. Could have sworn there was a tinge of sadness in his voice, but he made no effort to stop me from going. Maybe he was lonely, but Sal hadn't struck me as someone wanting company all that often, if at all. Remember, the gate's over there. Laughing nervously, I backed away and left Sal to his own devices. Thank you. It was hard enough to get a read on him, even on a good day, but that's just kind of the person he was. Let's go to the vault. The vault's the most important part. Somehow, at some point, I found myself looking at a familiar-looking door. Something about the room seemed, well, weird, almost as if a haze had lingered in the room, but as much as it felt off, my body dragged me across to the keypad next to the door. Maybe I should just try putting in something, given I'm here, and put password. So, I'm not sure what the password could exactly be, but maybe I should just start inputting things that was seen around the building. Like, there was a library, there was, what was that? Conservatory. I'm gonna put in conservatory. It beeped an error, clearly not happy with what I had put in. Not that I really knew what the password was, but it was better than standing around and doing nothing, right? Time seemed to slip away from me. I wasn't sure how long I ended up standing there, but I could hear the dinner bell ringing. I trudged up towards the dining room in a daze. As it turned out, I was the last one to arrive. Really? Weird.
Hey, Dave.
I must have sat down next to Roswell when I entered. It was the closest chair to the door by far. Not only that, but the food was already on the table. How long was I on autopilot?
You look wrecked. Are you alright?
Yeah, I think so. My head felt cloudy, fuzzy as if I was still waking up.
Well, if you're sure.
I remember nodding, with my awareness slowly returning to me.
Maybe I'm just tired. I know I was downstairs and I guess I just zoned out.
Where were you, in the gym?
No, not the gym. I was downstairs, but the other room, the one with the big door.
Oh yeah, that's the vault. The one I know the one you're talking about.
Wait, vault?
Right, because of how the door looks. Even has a keypad next to it wanting a password, so it's bound to have something important behind it. I tried a bunch of words though. Nothing, not even password. All it did was beep at me.
Why that? That's... I didn't even know that was possible.
Oh, I thought maybe it was like a computer, so I,
Roswell looked away, eyes bulging and looking worried. Wait. Is that the password to your computer, Roswell?
No, don't be silly. Please, just maybe forget that, please.
His mind wandering back to Sal swimming at the poolside, Dave soon enough lost track of time. The rest of dinner had become a blur. He was alone in the dining room before he knew it.
Being alone in the dining room put me on edge. I don't know why, but maybe it was just the isolation. As my vision focused, I realized I was the only one in the room after all. Oh. The otter gave me an appraising stare, his gaze drilling into me, a mix of curiosity and concern.
Are you well? You seem, well, distressed.
My mouth felt dry suddenly, and I quickly looked around. I'm fine. Another long stretch of silence passed. Despite being on the opposite side of the table, I felt you were right next to me, and just not in a good way. I'm just fine. Just, I don't know, maybe tired?
Then may I suggest you to return to your room and retire for the night? The others have done the same, and the mansion is far too large to be wandering around by oneself in the dead of night.
Is it dangerous? There was no response, shy of his polite smile, but in a way that smile made me tense up more, making me feel more uneasy.
Oh, I wouldn't say dangerous, Master Dave. No danger at all so long as everyone's in their bed.
My gaze narrowed, confused. How you phrased that just seemed off. You make it sound like they're not all in their beds. Again, that polite smile returned. His voice was level and calm.
At the very least, you aren't.
Benson turned briskly on his heels and slowly wandered away. The moment he was out of sight, a chill ran down my spine. I made my way out of there as fast as my legs would take me until I was in my room. The moment I got on the other side of the door and closed it, I started to pace. I was just imagining things. It was all in my head, whatever it was that I was feeling. This was just an unfamiliar house, and I just hadn't settled in yet. Despite reinforcing this in my head, I yelped when I heard a knocking on the door. I froze, staring at the door, unnervous by Benson's behavior downstairs. Gulping, I croaked out. Come in? Dean eased open the door and closed it shut behind him, eyes trained on me, and he looked irritated. Hey, Dean,
You were out of it at dinner. What's wrong?
Nothing. I wasn't doing anything at all. Dean clicked his tongue before shaking his head.
No, I know something's up. I've known you long enough to learn that much, Dave, so spill it.
I shuffled uneasily on the spot, avoiding Dean's gaze. Okay, fine. Does something feel off about this place to you? About Benson? The question seemed to take Dean aback. He blinked and seemed to think it over. While he was thinking, I continued. He's the only staff. We've seen no one else. Dean crossed the room and placed his hands on my shoulders, waiting until I looked at him proper.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I think so. Why?
Just rattled?
Yeah. Dean kneaded my shoulders, massaging the tension I had been holding in my neck. Maybe he wanted to do more, or just to say something, but his eyes held fast onto the spot on the floor nearby.
Alright, well, if you want to talk, I'm just down the hall.
I flashed him a wry smile, seeing if I could lighten the mood a bit. Just to talk. He stopped suddenly, looking down at me before meeting my smile with one of his own. Then that smile grew into one of Dean's signature grins.
Just talk, huh? Well, I suppose if talking isn't enough, we could do something else with our mouths.
I laughed, and a lot of my worries fell away right then and there. He leaned down and gave me a quick hug before holding me gently at arm's length.
Everything will be fine, Dave, but if it ever bothers you, you know where I'll be. You know how I am, but don't think for a second that I'm not looking out for you, alright? Promise.
With another nod, he was gone. A faint fluttering in my chest made me feel warm and comforted. But with my mind at ease, fatigue had hit me hard, and I turned in for the night. Day 3. That was an entirely short day too, wow.
Sleep had escaped Dave that night, despite Dean's attempt to comfort him. Although his bedroom was comfortable and clean, it lacked that familiarity Dave was so richly desiring. His head spinning with worry, though he couldn't quite place where his worry was coming from. The lack of staff? The mysterious vault? Or was it something else entirely that was bothering him? Dave could hear various dull noises and pitter-patters echo throughout the house. Perhaps he was hearing things. Frustrated with letting his fear get the better of him, Dave sought for the attention of his friends. Time to message Sal.
The reply came almost immediately, making me blink in confusion. For a moment, I wondered if I'd passed out. It only came to after some time had passed, but no, it seemed that Sal must have had his phone in hand. His reply said to meet him outside, and given the time, he was likely up to do his morning routine.
The house was quiet and dark as Dave made his way down to the pool area. Sal was already outside waiting.
We stopped at the pool, Sal opening the gate and holding it open so we could both pass through. Lay down. Wait, what? Where? Lay down, on the chair. He gestured on the poolside chair that I lay down. So I did so. Suddenly I felt like I was at the therapist's office without Sal sat down on the one beside me. Like this? Roll over. As I rolled over, Sal got back up and straddled the chair, placing his hand on my shoulders. Right as I opened my mouth, Sal dug his fingers into my shoulders and neck, massaging them and making me moan softly in his grasp. Relax. Now talk. Easier said than done as he works his magic, but this stress started to all fall away. I was able to bring my thoughts back into words. So, this house, does it seem off to you? Off how? Like, well, the lack of staff? Yeah, that's one reason. And the other? Well, something just feels off. He pulled away, sitting back and letting me roll back over till we could face another. You know, I wouldn't worry about that. You're safe. I shifted uncomfortably, unsure of what to do with my hands. Am I? What if something bad happens? Just what if? Then we'll protect you. You'll protect me? I saw Sal's cheeks flush just for a moment before he cleared his throat. He leaned in, eyes locked on mine before I felt him roughly jab my chest. You're soft. Oof. Without another word, he stood up, peeling his shirt off and wandering closer to the pool. He looked over to his shoulders at me, smiling again as he kicked off his pants and dove into the water. He moved gracefully in the water, but now that a lot of my troubles had been put to rest by the reassurance, I had one if not multiple bodyguards. I returned to my room to rest up before breakfast.
Last one to arrive at breakfast, Dave sauntered in and plopped down next to Tyson.
At first glance, it seemed Tyson was well rested, if a little bored. Figured he might like the company. Morning.
Morning. Sleep all right?
Yeah, I've been better.
Yeah. Ooh.
Who?
Yeah. Who's underperforming?
Oh wait, no. I just had trouble sleeping.
Not like you tell me, anyway. Had you picked for someone that likes a bad boy anyway? None of the guys match that.
Turned over a new leaf, have ya?
Except me, pup. But you're out of your league on that one.
Tyson started to grab food from in front of him, stocking up his plate and tucking him in. With how fast he was eating, I could have sworn I was sitting next to Dean. Whoa. Hungry much?
Hey, freak rub. Good freak rub.
Well, yeah, but aren't you gonna get sick of eating that?
Nah, I know my own limits. Should get some food in you, though. Just gonna take a look around. Figure you might want to come.
Sure, I don't have any other plans for today after all.
Great.
Ty's excitement has caused a scene, but he didn't care. Watching Tyson ride his enthusiasm out of the dining room, Dave decided to follow. Before either of them had made a decision on where to go, they made a detour towards Tyson's room. This momentary privacy allowed for Tyson to vent his feelings about being the outsider of their group of friends.
Ty began to pace before sighing, giving me a hard stare before continuing.
I came because you invited me, but I think you made a mistake, given who else is here. I'm thankful, don't get me wrong, but I think that as a whole, you should have picked someone else.
It was true that Tyson was an odd fit among the rest of the guys, considering his history as a schoolyard bully. While it was too expensive to head on home, both concluded that Ty is fine being left out so long as Dave was there to keep the wolf company. A tad curious to explore the rumored game room that existed upstairs, both boys combed through every door until they found the room with the pool table.
Upon discovering the games room, Dave and Tyson became perplexed at the inclusion of a slot machine. Who is this for? Guests? What if this thing paid out? Does the owner just give that money away? And would the owner really stooge money off of their guests? Who would play this?
Tyson's attention quickly zeroed in on a projector screen, which he rallied Dave to help him get set up. The screen lit up and revealed a bunch of pre-downloaded games. Tyson's mouth watered at the large selection, noting how much more games this baby holds than his projector at home.
Sure they won't mind if I help myself.
What, you're gonna take one of these home?
Yep. Not gonna miss one.
But
They're not gonna miss one lousy console, come on.
But that's stealing!
And don't fucking tell anyone.
But
Look, if you don't want a guilty conscience, then don't watch me steal it. Hell, I won't even steal it right now. Jeez, you're such a buzzkill. Well, you've ruined the mood now. Let's go somewhere else.
Okay.
Ty's mood plummeted as he and Dave left the room together. As Tyson stomped past Roswell on his way to the dining room, Dave stopped to confirm that Tyson isn't that bad of a guy. Instead of accompanying Roswell to the dining room, Dave headed back towards his room. Something felt amiss, though. Had someone been in here? Dave didn't take too long to investigate and went downstairs. It wasn't too long before he saw the rest of the guys rushing over to the dining room, which Dave quickly followed suit.
Really, anyone could have heard the yelling as they approached, but entering made it all the worse. Seems as though everyone heard it as everyone filed in close behind.
Who are you calling a dog, a pig?
That's...
Roswell and Tyson were on the opposite side of the table, Tyson snarling and hunched over one of the chairs, looking like he'd jump over it.
Yeah, what's going on?
That porker called me a dog.
I didn't, I swear.
Roswell made a break for it, hiding behind Sal. Tyson was right behind him, stopping shy of Sal and snarling up the massive crocodile in his way. What happened? Sal looked over back at Roswell, opting to address him rather than the wolf in front of him, making Ty back off in a huff.
No one's hurt, right? You didn't, you know.
Ty looked like he was about to explode, eyes bulging at the corners of his mouth turned downwards. By comparison, Roswell was meekly clinging to the back of Sal's shirt, using him as a physical barrier. I needed answers, and I didn't like the idea of the two of them fighting. Maybe it was just a simple misunderstanding. I looked between Roswell and Tyson, clearing my throat. Tyson, what happened? Asking Tyson must have calmed him a little, as rather than seem full-blown rabid he was only a few moments ago.
Well,
He shot Roswell a dirty look before looking back at me, hands still balled up into fists.
called me a dog to my face. Lupus. I'm a wolf, damn it. I don't go play fetch.
No sooner than Tyson had spoken up, Roswell stepped out from behind Sal, stomping his feet.
I told you, it's Canis. Lupus. You're still a canine.
See, he's doing it again.
Ty pointed at Roswell, shooting me a desperate look. I wonder if this is what it was like to have children. I wasn't like this as a kid, was I? This is what you're fighting about? Really? Hey guys, there's plenty of other reasons you could be fighting, and you choose that. Really? Tyson's just making trouble again, it seems. Ty did a double take, looking between Sal, Haas, and then finally to me. I wasn't sure what he wanted me to do, and maybe I realized a little too late that he wanted some backup before he bailed, disappearing down the hall. I seemed to be the only one watching where Tyson went, everyone else checking in on Roswell. He was the smallest of the group, and the youngest, so maybe there was some obligation to make sure he was okay first. Or maybe it was just that they disliked Tyson that much that they didn't care how he was feeling? There was every chance Ty would have been fine given his space, but I stoked another look at the rest of the group before shaking my head. Even if everyone else thought he was overreacting, he was still upset, and he was my friend. The others could take care of Roswell, so he was in good hands. Tyson, however, the only reason I knew where he went was because I spotted the tail disappearing down the stairs towards the basement. Ty? It was dark, but I noticed him with his arms tight across his chest, leaning back on one of the walls. He wasn't looking at me, but with how low his ears were, and how they were twitching, I could tell he was there. You alright?
Do I sound alright to you?
He spat words out, making me flinch. I took a step back. He seemed to realize what he did a moment later.
Look, I'm sorry about all that. It's just... He called me a puppy.
But Ty, was that really the way to react to... you know?
You know, it means a lot that you followed me down here. We were talking about you.
About me?
Yeah, doesn't matter about what. You just made a comment about my tail when you were mentioned.
Your tail?
Yes, my tail. I can't stop wagging it sometimes. Anyway, took a dig at me and called me a happy puppy, then started claiming that gayness or whatever thing.
I don't want to take sides, but...
And then you make an excuse for your actual friend. Figures.
No, just... I want everyone to get along with each other. I know it's hard, but... Tyson sighed, rolling his eyes before looking me over. He then said nothing at first, but when he did, his tone was level and calm.
Okay, fine. I'll do it for you. But I'm not gonna stand for any of that dog nonsense. You hear me?
I'll tell Roswell to be more careful in how he jokes around. Promise. So, come to lunch? Please?
Tyson declined to stay for lunch and opted to work out instead.
He ruffled the fur on top of my head, shooting me a smile.
I'll be fine, pup. See you at dinner.
I watched as he headed into the gym and out of sight. Part of me wondered if I should keep him company or head back upstairs. But he said he was fine, and he usually was right. It wasn't the first time he'd gotten upset when we had this talk, and it probably wasn't going to be the last. Comfortable that Ty would be okay eventually, I headed back upstairs for lunch.
Dave arrived in the dining room as Orlando brought out a big tray filled with sandwiches.
We went around the table, sharing what we'd found, but most of it was pretty tame, just minor discoveries each of us had made about the place.
Well, I did end up speaking to Benson about that activity. I think you'll like it, and with how all over the place that we've been. Just as well, too.
Alright, well what have you got in mind?
Okay, you ready for this? A scavenger hunt.
Scavenger hunt? Yeah, it's a great idea.
But, why a scavenger hunt? I'm kinda confused.
More importantly, what are we finding?
Well, that's what Benson came in and helped. Turns out, there was a set of medals that once belonged to the people that lived there. Apparently, they got hidden around the place by one of the kids as a prank.
Wait, so we're just looking around for stuff that no one else could find?
Well, yes, but Benson also told me to pass on that there's a reward. Well, alright, I think I can find a medal or two.
Forget about that, I want to know the reward first. Wouldn't that be better as a surprise? Can't expect us to go wandering around to only get an expired coupon as a prize, or like, just the second DVD in a B-grade anime.
A reward is access to the vault downstairs.
There was silence and a few confused expressions thrown around the table.
Anything of worth we'll find inside is ours to keep in exchange for the medals. Apparently they have intense sentimental value to Benson.
Sentimental value? Sure, but to give us whatever's inside the vault? Is that really okay? We looked at one another again before considering what could be inside the vault. Money? Treasure? My mind wandered to what I hoped was beyond that door. Money would be nice, but there was always that saying about it not buying happiness. Treasure would be neat, but wouldn't that just be a different kind of money?
Hold on a minute.
What's wrong, Orlando?
What if he just wants us to find these medals for some sort of ghost ritual thing? Should we help him?
Really, I don't think the medals were for that.
Oh yeah? Well, what are the medals made out of?
The Zodiac, actually, so...
See? That's totally the realm of ritual possibility. Think about all the games you play when you have to collect the thing and then it turns out that the player was a fool for assembling everything for it to fill in.
Sal reached over to Orlando's face and held his mouth shut. He seemed to be gentle, but he sighed and looked back to Roswell. So, what do they look like?
Well, about that, Benson just said that they had colored ribbons and that they were made of metal. They'd have the signs of the Zodiac engraved on them, too.
That that's something to go off of, but what colored ribbon? What type of metal? Roswell shrugged, shaking his head. So hi, Panda.
That's all the info Benson was willing to give me.
This has creepy funeral written all over it.
Maybe, but what if it isn't? I've been to your house. You have some strange collections.
Maybe, but let's not get into the sort of things that I hoard, Sal. Okay, let's go find those medals.
Well, that was a quick turnaround.
I'll take it, though.
Haas, upon hearing each of the medals had a corresponding star sign, began to list off each of the zodiac symbols, greatly impressing Dave, even if such knowledge comes off as superfluous.
How about this? Let's tackle the scavenger hunt in pairs and decide tomorrow what those teams will be, right?
Why not now?
Roswell is hesitant to create the teams when not everyone is present. Haas expresses concern over including Tyson, but Roswell insists that everyone should be included if they stand a chance at getting all the medals.
Discussion heated up around how the teams would be formed until Roswell spoke up.
And a party for the winners for contributing the most to us getting the full set. Feeling that we could just get consolation prize ice cream or something.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Not going to turn down free food either.
I'm with you on that one.
I collapsed on my bed, trying to get comfortable, but my mind wandered. I was curious about the door downstairs. What was behind it? And if it was worth finding a bunch of medals for.
And that concludes episode 2 of Password. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching this. I appreciate it if you're interested in supporting this series. Thank you so much. If you do like this, leave a like and stuff. Just let me know in a comment, like, hey, this puppeteering stuff that you're doing is actually pretty cool. That'd be awesome. And I'll leave you guys with my outro. Peace!
In coffee shops and their sippy cup ass piece of shit.
I just gotta play along with whatever he says and pretend to laugh, and then he'll go away faster. Oh!
This is fucking capitalism!
Rules for me and not for thee! Damn it! My greed has made me lose more of my money! I only get $120 for that? Dude, just drop porn on the internet instead! Who's this bitch think she is?
Yes, because we can all agree to beat to a pulp that disgusting furry.
Whose house? Rad's house.